Welcome to Thriving Tribesmen. My name is Corey, your host, and I'm excited to be making this episode. The heaviest things in this world are not iron or gold, but it's the decisions that you're not making. In fact, it's a quote that I had from one of my mentors. His name is Alex. He's an incredible human being, and it's so true. And within a sexless relationship, we tend to delay our decision making based off of the outcomes that we've had in the past. For example, if you've been rejected consistently, we look at that outcome as something that is bad. And because you view it as bad, it then influences how you make decisions. Now, decisions, and this is my own explanation of what it is you committing to do an action, and that's basically what decision making is. So you make a commitment to make an action, and obviously the action still has to happen. And when you do that action, the outcome can be good or bad. Now, if you just to bring it back a little bit, most people measure the how good a decision is based on the outcome, and when you do so, it makes it very difficult to measure whether you are improving, because again, it stunts your growth, because all of a sudden, if you're making a few decisions and all of them end up being having bad outcomes, you start seeing it as though that whatever you're doing is not working. Whereas if you measure by the actual very act of making a decision being the good thing, it makes all of the difference, because then you say, okay, I've had a negative outcome, but how was the quality? How was the speed of me making the decision, and how was the speed of execution? And when you look at that, and that's when you start measuring based off of that, it changes the way you approach the relationship and in fixing your sexless relationship. Because again, the time between doing something about your relationship will get broader, which makes it a lot difficult to actually change it. So some of you guys, you sort of leave it 2 or 3 weeks before you do anything with your relationship. So, and some of you guys are even listening to this podcast right now, you're trying to find that information that's going to be the one thing that's going to give you the one idea, that's going to be the one thing you're going to say and then change everything. And it's not going to be like that. A lot of it is going to be iterating some of the decisions that you make. So, for example, when you have the talk, it's not enough just to have that one talk. You're going to have multiple times and revisit that same conversation different times and look at it different angles. So, for example, when you're speaking the first time, how was your voice tone? How did you approach it? Did you have enough conviction when you're speaking? Were you clear in your communication? So when you start seeing those things and not looking at the outcome, because most people will be like, okay, I'm having the talk, let's see what happens when I have the talk, and they sort of neglect the other bits that are important. So, for example, if you measure it based on the decision that I've made the decision to go and have the talk, and the speed of execution, and for you, and also the time between the time collecting data and the speed of execution is where you'd measure. And when you measure that, it becomes a very important thing. So, for example, when I said when you collect data, for example, is that you go, if you get a bad outcome, you take a step back, you now analyze the data of what happened and where it could have fallen. And I usually use the example of, I'm an engineer, and sometimes within a machine, for example, if there's a sequence of 1, 2, 3 in terms of the machine running, and then it's going 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. If it goes 1, 2 and then stops, then I put an idea that, okay, maybe something is happening at number 2. Then I'll try and do my best to fix it if it's something obvious. And then what I'll do is then I'll restart the machine and then see if that will work. So you might go 1, 2, 3, and then I'm like, okay, that's worked, and then I can move on to the next machine. Whereas if it goes again 1, 2 and then stops, then that means that I haven't got it right. I might have to move and do something else in order to change that. Again, it's me collecting data and then executing as soon as I get that data. And that becomes the measure of what's happening. If I measure off of the outcome and say 1, 2, and then I try to repair it, and then it doesn't work, and then say, oh my God, I'm pretty shit. I'm a horrible person. I'm a horrible engineer, so I give up. And this is how you guys approach this. So decision making becomes very important on what are you measuring your decisions on? Are you measuring it on the outcome, or are you measuring it on the speed of execution? Are you measuring it off the how quickly you're analyzing data so you can actually act on the decisions that you're making? So I just thought I'll make that quick episode, and hopefully it was clear, because I'm waiting for my daughter right now. This car's passing by, but it's something that we're working on with some of the other guys in Reignited Men. We started talking about decision making and just reframing the metrics of measuring what a good decision is, because when you look at it from that perspective, it changes everything. It means that your time between trying something becomes shorter, because a lot of it is too long for you guys. You don't apply enough pressure to actually create change within your relationship, because you try something, you get rejected, and then you spend the next 3 weeks feeling sorry for yourself, not doing anything, acting out, doing all sorts of things that are self-destructive, and then you feel so much despair that you now try to make a move, and the time between making decisions becomes so long. And again, the fact that you're now making it off false data, you're probably repeating that same process where you come from this victim mindset, because you spent so much time in despair and so on. So I know there's a lot to unpack with that. I went through it pretty quickly. So if you want to really understand this, it's something that I can freely teach you if you come to Thriving_Tribesmen. I can walk you through and what that looks like in a relationship. Just to, because I think in order to get sexual frequency, you have to be good at approaching difficult decisions in a relationship frequently. Again, that's the translation of that some of you guys are really serious about getting your relationship on track, but you don't show it within your actions because you're very slow to making decisions. So thank you very much, guys. Hopefully you have a good weekend. I'll be seeing you guys soon. Take care.